Call this meeting to order of the Financial Management Committee. Today is October the 21st at 3:30 p.m. Bob, would you like to give the invitation?
Lord, as we gather to study the business of this county, we ask wisdom from above. We have knowledge that is abounding, but Lord, to use that knowledge in a wise manner. Help us to always put ourselves last, be the servant as we should be, as your Son gave us the example while he's here upon this earth. As we think about the things that need to be taken care of here in this county, we are mindful of each and every citizen and their needs. We hope that we make good decisions on their behalf. Help us to always do those things that are right in your sight. Help us to be examples that we should be toward other men. We ask this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Recognition of the public. Seeing no one stepping forward, we'll move on to approval of the minutes.
Got to approve the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip that? Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the? Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimous. We have an agenda. Thank you. Approval of the minutes.
Motion.
I've got a thought in minutes. There's a lot to unpack with these minutes, and I know we have a few questions, and maybe Commissioner Chairperson has a few questions. I would propose, I'll make a motion that we table the minutes to the next meeting and give this group some time to look through those. There's just a lot of stuff in there that we need to just make sure it's exactly what we decided to do. So I'll make that motion.
I don't have a problem with that. Does anyone object?
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown.
Second.
All in favor of moving the minutes to next month? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move the minutes to next month. Before the chairman, under AUC purchasing update, I'd like to ask the committee to take a deep dive into the county purchasing policy and procedures. One, to understand what we're looking at, and then come back with any recommendations of items that you'd like more information on, you'd like clarification on, any items you think that we're overlooking. Mr. Long, how long has it been since you've had a review of your purchasing procedures?
I'll have to look online. It's been several years. They're currently being worked on by the subcommittee, but in 2020, it's been several years. 2020 is the last one.
Can you send everyone a link?
Yeah, we'll have a link email in the morning to the website.
And then I would like to discuss a potential date change for this meeting. This meeting has been falling on commission night. If we have any items we want to move forward, they would always have to wait a month. But also it's a little bit difficult to roll out of here and come straight into commission. So if anyone has any objections, I'd like to send out an email to kind of survey everybody on a different day. So you can look for that in your email. Report of the county mayor.
Bear with me just a second, let me finish this off.
Mm-hmm.
I ask that we defer this for another month, still talking it over with department heads and our constitutional officers, getting feedback from them. And, I'd like to punt for a month.
So with the payroll item, so I'd like to address the committee with the potential that we do have a lot of constitutional officers and a lot of department heads that have great interest in this and would like clarification. I agree with the mayor, we need more time. I'd like to propose a workshop where we don't have to have a committee, we don't have to go in and out of session, we just have a workshop. And Cindy, I'm glad that you're here. If everybody is okay, I think Cindy is kind of a member of the committee and says she speaks for the trustee. I mean, we can definitely suspend the rules to let her speak, but do you have any thoughts on that? If we just had an open table workshop for everybody to sit around and discuss this item?
The payroll issues, yeah, that'd be great.
I think from your point of view. So any thoughts from the rest of the committee?
That workshop and about it, discuss
How it's
the
going to
different
work.
options, the one with the week added, or the one with changing the department heads, make sure everybody understands what's being discussed.
I think that's a great idea.
Good. So I'll send us out an email, again, surveying for a date. There's a lot of department heads involved. We'll look at the dates available for the people in this room and let everybody else try and join in.
Okay.
Report of the law director.
I will yield any reports deemed necessary as we go through the agenda, if that's okay.
Report of the trustee.
Okay, Mayor, right there. On a roll now, we've got the tax roll loaded, the bills are at the printer, they're going to start working on, we had to inspect some proofs and make sure everything looked okay. We've got the information from the state for our tax relief and tax freeze. Hopefully the bills will go out next week. Everything is delayed a little because of the reappraisal, but we'll be on a roll before you know it.
The counties have already sent me mine.
Who?
I said all the other counties have already sent me mine,
Oh,
that I have property.
right. Well, of course, the reappraisal put things behind. It was, we hadn't had one in so long. It was a lot of appeals, and so.
I have a question, Madam Chairman. Where do we stand on investment committee? I know we talked about it last year, and I'm not sure where we landed on it.
Yes, and it's a committee on committees with the recommendation.
If we did that, or we plan to do that?
I think you did the recommendation of this committee.
Is the committee right?
To be the investment committee, but I don't think we heard anything back from committee on committee.
I think it went to legislative. I'm not sure.
I think the committee on committee.
That's your shit.
I have no idea.
I understand.
Yeah,
And we emailed,
the last I heard it was staying in here, but
but
So,
I think it was being sent to committee on committees to make that official, but I don't think it was.
yeah, I'll be glad to look at their meeting tonight as well, and I'll make an ask of that. And what was specifically the name of that?
It's the investment committee.
Investment committee, okay.
with the investment committee, and I do understand the need for it, and other counties definitely have investment committees, but definitely counties of our size. Do you think that we need to roll it into a component of this committee or a separate day? And I'm open to either.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a standalone investment committee, at least for the first couple of quarters, whenever we decide the frequency, and then roll it into this, once we get kind of improved what we're trying to do, improve the charter, do everything we need to do to get the committee rolling. And I think, Cindy, a lot of it's your capability too. I mean, and what cycles you have things on, and kind of how this whole process works, and just the controls around that. well, it's to be determined, but I do think we need to formalize it before.
Self-information, so place back on the agenda next month, like the statute and the investment statute.
It is in the statute. There's no question, right? It is there.
There's an investment statute
Mhm.
for the committee, and then there's also a statute that tells the investments you can invest in. Quite limited there is out there.
How about for this committee, Financial Management Committee? I'll follow up and make sure that it gets through all the committees that it needs to. When we get it to the point that we can have a committee, I'll find us a date and let everybody know.
Okay, would it be okay to report back at the next meeting, kind of the progress of that?
I hope to have an answer before then,
Great, thank you.
because I almost think that they pushed it through. Mr. Sitler, would that need to go to committee on committee or legislative?
I would think it would need to go through legislative, especially if it's just gonna get kicked back here, and then you all create this subcommittee. Is that what I'm understanding?
It's a
It
statute.
could be standing.
It's a statutory requirement. Why does it need to go to the legislative committee for that?
I'm not even clear as to why it moved out of here.
Yeah.
There's another statute for that. I think that's when you guys will go in, because it holds you harmless.
Can we do this, maybe between meetings, you can tell us what legally we need to do to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we come back at the next meeting and we, both move forward and we want to make a smaller meeting of this committee. Then that's a thought too, without everybody having to meet, basically twice.
Yeah.
And then we can report back to the larger committee. But, I mean, I'm wide open on how we get there.
And I do believe it's smaller committee.
Yeah. But made up of the members of this. I don't want to dominate Cindy's time either, so we don't overtax her either.
Does anyone have any questions about the trustees' report? Very good. Would you like to stay with us? We can help your company, or you can run along if you want.
No, I'll
But you
sit in for a
definitely-
little while longer.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We send the girls, always in September to the different cities that participate in our tax freeze program, and they took quite a number of applications to help our elderly, low-income elderly. And I have to go through and approve all of the applications, check their income statements and all of that to make sure that they do qualify. So, it's very time-consuming.
Yeah. And I know this is more of a budget question, and
Mhm.
I know some of the answers. Okay. Can you give this committee an idea of how many citizens that we have that are in that program?
It has increased, I'm trying to think what the final number was. We used to have about 2,000 on the tax relief program, and it's, did she tell me, it has gone up quite a bit. 3,500,
So large.
I think. I would have to go back and check the numbers. I get numbers thrown at me all the time. But we've had quite an increase in applicants.
Report of the finance director.
They just passed out one that actually says on the top, if you look at the RA status report, number 3,
Think about that.
give everybody a chance to get a copy of it.
It's really good.
Yeah, you shared that email, I believe we
Because the rest of
Take that responsibility out of hand.
I believe we emailed this out Friday, and basically it serves two purposes, allow this committee to evaluate the ongoing operations, and also shows that we are making effort internally to move forward to, at some point, concluding with the implementation of 2012 acts. And you'll recognize on the first page when you flip it over, which is actually page number 2, if you look through, several things have been delayed. Like a lot of other offices, we've had significant amount of turnover. Some of it to do with the salaries, tonight on the commission floor, there's actually a request for some adjustments to deal with that, and a lot of it's been in that payroll lately. Several of these you would have seen earlier, we're trying to do a lot of the cross-training and additional training. Right now, we stopped to do the initial training on the victim board. The next is update the purchasing policy, which our chairman mentioned tonight. It is currently in the subcommittee, waiting for action from the subcommittee whenever, the subcommittee is finalized. Same thing on the bid model.
Can I ask on the, subcommittee, where does it, is it meeting? Or is that the subcommittee that we're referring to here?
It's not there for a while.
You know, how are we gonna move forward? We don't know.
That's what I think they're waiting, I think this committee was waiting on the minutes for the month, appointed members of the subcommittee, and I think they need to appoint, member, I guess, for this year. And then call meeting.
Is that the officer meeting or the group you're talking about?
Well, they have the elected official association chooses a member for the subcommittee, and then the subcommittee is made up of that member, the mayor, highway superintendent, me, and I believe 2 members of this committee.
One.
So, how do we move this forward? I mean, you know, if the subcommittee's not meeting, how are we gonna move this forward?
So with the subcommittee, it was formed if you read the Financial Management Act in 2012, it was formed to do the initial policies and procedures and pick the software and the details of that. So we have accomplished all of the initial policies and procedures. We are basically at just kind of tune up and move forward. As you'll see further down in the agenda, under new business, we have an item for AED, for instance. This is a new item, not something they would have had in 2012, that's coming on for us to look at the purchasing of these AEDs and putting some guidelines in place. So going forward, this is not in the initial implementation. This is just moving forward in county business.
So we move it back to the committee, and we still.
That's what I thought we would do when we look at the purchasing. I was going to suggest that when we get to the AED part, that we're going to discuss it tonight, the issues, not the issues, but the guidelines for the AEDs. And then when we look at the purchasing procedures, incorporate that.
Where's that in the agenda?
The AEDs are down under new business.
I got it, okay, got it. So you want to table that till we get to this, that section?
It's just an example.
Okay.
They issue, the situation surrounding the AEDs came up this month as we were looking at purchasing some more. And Mr. Long pointed out that we would need to include that into our purchasing procedures to ensure anyone going to purchase an AED knew the steps that needed to be taken.
So is it your thoughts that we wouldn't move that subcommittee process or responsibility back to this committee so we can move it forward, or?
At least they're looking at new items and looking at updating. I believe we've accomplished the initial stuff. If there's something that goes back to the implementation.
Yeah. So I need to change that back to this committee. Put it up there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that.
Anywhere we just have subcommittee, other than implementation, or, you know, the original policy development component, I think it should be on this committee.
So I'll bring it back. We'll bring the current policy back next month.
Yeah, perfect.
And as we go along, if something needs to go the other way, we can look at that. But going forward, everyday business, it seems like that's not implementation. Does anyone have any thoughts? Mr. Long, would you like to continue with your report?
Yes, sir, and the bid module, we're working on that too. We've had some turnover had several turnovers, predominantly because the job market's good for finance staff right now, so we've lost over the last several years, like several beds, and that's what it does. We've had more turnover recently than in the past. And right now, we're trying to hire an employee and determine, I think, that our starting salary is going to be something that the last 6 weeks. Something like that. We've interviewed for a week now, and we're going to see if we can maybe find what we're at right now. Same thing for contract module. The employee self-service, is continuing on, is delayed due to higher priorities. I think we'd be better to focus all of our efforts in the payroll section to the product implementation versus going forward further with employee self-service at this time. Highway, the same thing on the purchase orders. We're doing their bids. We have since this past July. That was something that we needed to take on. But right now, based on my understanding from the last meeting, to kind of hold off on the BOs and focus more on the timekeeping system. Same thing to all through here. One of them is, that I did put on here, is grant project, ledger accounting. That's something that's been going on since we adopted the resolution back in 2009, and it was based on the 2012 Act. We do annually reconcile these projects, but as you can see, we're not getting stuff on the front end. We do not have complete records, never have been able to get the complete records. We talked about the history last month. Where the employee was hired, 80%, supposed to be grant project accounting, and about 20% actually doing the project, and then nothing completed. And if you look in here, October 15th, we did discuss that with the budget committee. It is under old business, and I believe anything is to be funded over next year at this point, or we got to get this coming out.
I think you've got the grant report. Do you want to just cover that now? Yeah, I've got a few thoughts on that. You tell me when you want to talk about it.
So you get under here again, so it's the next time of the meeting.
Okay.
The next one is on talking about the Chrono system, and based on the discussion, we've got the RFQ probably to go back on to the streets this week. And the number one priority on it would be to reconfigure telestat with the ERP system, make it directly uploadable. That's the one where the telestat is actually a timekeeping system that we never anticipated having a lot of involvement with. Employees at EMS that give that to the layer. And they're struggling, and we've not got a lot of training on, so we're struggling somewhat while we're making it work. At this point, I think two things need to happen. We need to get training for both offices on the actual telestat system, and we also, official training, and we also need to do some reconfiguration to make the system work smoother always, to the point that we can do the direct upload. The sheriff's department is working.
Can I interject, I'm sorry? With the telestaff, that's just for the EMS. Can you remind us how many employees we have at EMS?
I believe there's around 145, does that sound right, full-time, and several part-time.
Well, then that would include part-time.
I'm sorry, including part, is 125 full-time and 25?
Possibly.
This one's talking about that, I think it's around 125 and 125.
So is it correct to say that EMS has the largest number of non-Chronos employees at this time?
They are on Chronos.
They're on it, but the telestaff isn't working?
Telestaff.
Scheduling system that feeds to their Chronos.
So the Chronos, it's all working completely, and it's just not?
Well, I wasn't part of the implementation for their Chronos, and so however it was built, it's not going to work with a direct upload. Because the way it's configuring doesn't configure their overtime exactly the way that Jay has been sending it to us. And I haven't had time to figure out why he doesn't manipulate. I don't think he's doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's not a good
But
word.
he has to manipulate it to make it work properly.
Yeah, into a spreadsheet to send to us to have the correct hours.
And we want it correct.
Directly from, yes. It's just because they have, the weird schedules and holidays are counted differently, and it's not loading into Chronos the way that I would need it for a direct input.
And the reason we're here, we never anticipated doing the telestaff. We anticipated them doing it completely. They had, what was his name? Sam helped configure it, he left, I guess, about a year and a half ago now.
It was right after they got it.
Right after they got it, so nobody over there has a really good understanding. We have enough understanding to look at it, but the problem is we don't understand how it's fully configured or how it works. We do understand the, portion enough to make sure it's correct, but the same thing is that I think right now we need full training for both offices, and we need to provide them additional system or take it over and reconfigure the thing to work all the way through the time. They are more than happy to ask for help because they're looking online and everywhere they can to get help, but they need additional help on it too. So to make it to the point where it can be a direct upload and guarantee that it's correct, it needs to be reconfigured and additional training.
Can you walk me through what happens now? Let's say I'm an EMS employee. Are you saying that I have an app for Kronos, and I'm logging into Kronos? When you say that
There's an app, yeah.
they're implemented,
They have both.
so they're logging into Kronos. I'm on
Kronos
Kronos.
is just their time card. But anytime they enter time worked, which is a lot of them, the 24-hour people, or their pacing schedule, so they don't have to do anything, they don't punch or anything. But like, to request your time off, I believe they put that into TeleStaff, which then is approved by their supervisor, and that feeds to Kronos. In Kronos, all they have to do is approve their schedule, or their time.
So what happens with payroll? I'm an EMS employee, and I log in and I log out. Does Kronos automatically do it, or is there a lot of manual right now?
Well, that's what I mean. Right now, they don't have to log in and out. Their pacing schedule.
So
their schedule is there.
Although we have it
still
created, it's not working.
It's working, that's the way we have it set up.
It's working, but like in Kronos, in their time card, in order for me to do my export, the export is looking at what their totals are in their time card. When I look at their totals in their time card, it does not match with, word for word, it does not match what Jay sends us in payroll. There's some numbers that are off, because I think the way that he calculates their holiday or whatever, it's not coming through in an export like we would need it to just be a hands-off, don't look at it, just import it in.
I don't think she's
It won't match.
standard pay from schedule.
That's what
I do.
There's two different ways to pay employees. There's what's called pay from schedule. In other words, these employees are dispatched through dispatch, and they have a regular set schedule. So their schedule is this time here, based on the they log in when they're supposed to on the dispatch, then it's automatically there. What they do is if they're off schedule, then they go back and basically amend the time card. There's the other where you actually punch in and pick up at that point and punch out. Finance, for instance, we're a punch in, punch out. The mayor's office is a punch in, punch out. Me, I'm a exempt employee, so I don't punch in and out, but all the employees in my office do.
Right.
EMS does payroll by schedule. Sheriff is right now punching it, but they want to go to schedule. That's correct.
The majority of sheriff is paid per schedule.
But the rest of them, they want to go to pay by schedule.
They want everybody paid per schedule.
And the reason is it's easier to do, paid by schedule, but punch is usually better for your hourly employees. But the sheriff's department has an unusual, and so does EMS, because they're actually dispatched. So they know that even when it starts, they call in and out. There's other checks actually calling on the radio because they're there. So they're going to miss somebody back in, is my understanding. But there's other controls. And that was their request, and we didn't see a significant issue with it.
TeleStaff is integrated to the point where it will, as you said, export the information from the schedule into Kronos so that they get paid, but whenever there's overtime, there's problems.
And then it should go up to Muse. And the problem being is, it's a very good system. We can dial up and find people and everything. It's a pretty good system. The problem is, I believe two things. We need additional training in finance and EMS about the operation of the system. I believe we need to reconfigure it properly. I believe there's some configuration issues, and that's what I was talking to Annette. Just like on Kronos, I'd love to get over there and look at it in Muse and help them with some of the configuration, but the problem is I can't even find time to get over there right now. I'm busy dealing with the grants and all these projects. So she's had to lead a lot of the charge, and I think what she showed me so far, I think that the TeleStaff is misconfigured. It needs some reconfiguration without me digging deep. EMS and even the sheriff, but I believe we're not using it to its fullest. We need some additional coding. I mentioned the other day, I was looking at some coding. A lot of them could be put in to replace some significant improvements. That's just for me looking a little bit at the system. But I believe there needs to be a full reconfiguration for TeleStaff around this.
last month we discussed a consultant for the jail staff.
Yes, that's the number one priority, we're getting ready to drop on the street, I just mentioned it, hopefully end of this week.
So just to let the committee know, we should hear something next month, we should have a
Well,
solid
based on what I
idea.
understand, is we're gonna go ahead and bid it, move forward, and if it's within budget, go ahead and award the contract and move forward before the next committee meeting. That's all we're hoping. We're hoping to go ahead and get this thing on the ground before the next committee meeting, if we get the award. We're hoping for the end of this week to drop it back into the bid, and once it drops in, it takes about a week to get through the paper, and then about 2 weeks, probably by the end of November, we'll be pretty close to when they have awarded the contract. If not in November, not in the month of November, it'll be towards the end. The next one is the sheriff's department. Its configuration is complete. The only thing we're waiting on is for them to be able to I think the correct word is, sign off the word I'm hunting for, approve. We need them to be able to approve their time cards, and we actually have, if Jessica can pass those out from today, and this is what we're talking about. For us to be able to do a direct upload to the sheriff's department, they're all going to be able to approve the time card and say it's correct, the employee, the manager, and then their employee that's going to send us before that is dropped. At 9 a.m., there was 173 that both employee and manager had approved. 16 employees approved, 95 manager only, and 44 no approvals. Payroll should be up to us by 1 p.m. to allow for any changes or any other problems where we can get it to the bank and the direct deposit. At 1 p.m., because they sent us an Excel sheet to pay from, and we didn't do the direct chronos pool, there was 185 at that point. It had all the approvals it needed. 12, I only had an employee, 107 managers, and 24 non-approvals. So we think they've made some strides, but right now there's still a fair amount from a full upload.
David, what happens with the no approvals? Do they get a check?
They would get a check, but the problem is they haven't approved it. Look at it, we paid their check may be significantly wrong in this direction. That's why you want them to have the sign off with the employee, the manager, and then go all the way up to the, what's the final thing called? Or the sign off.
Sign off by payroll.
Sign off with the actual payroll person, which would actually fill the file, and what we would do is drag the file on the payroll, do some check points on it, and actually import it into some very expensive. Right now, it's being manipulated through an Excel sheet, so it's not have the sign off, so she's actually looking at all these manually.
So we're at 24 no approvals as of today, 112. I mean, let's say you get the cutoff of payroll and there's still no approval, you cut the check and they're wrong.
Right.
How many of those happen where they're wrong and go back and fix on a payroll?
Generally not every payroll, but we've had issues where people have sent us, when we're doing manual, through sales and time sheets, we had instances where department was physically signed off on payrolls for up to 3 months and paid employee on 3 months. It's a health department. They pay for a significant amount of time incorrectly. We're going to catch them because something happens, and we'll ask them to go back up,
Great, thank you.
How much time do you think extra resources are put in? What will we gain once we're up and fully automated at the sheriff's department?
From their end,
Do they have 1 or 2 employees over there
they
working
got
on this?
1 full-time employee payroll.
Will they be able to fully automate that after we've corrected all the?
We should automate it significantly. I don't know about when we automate somebody, because you're going to have
What do you mean exactly?
I just want to help them. I mean,
they would still have to do their part of the payroll, their
Right.
time sheet. The only thing that would save her time was the spreadsheet that she creates that she sends to us.
no Excel.
We didn't get it until 2:30 today.
it would get rid of the possibility where Chronos and Munis have differences in your payroll because that Excel sheet don't agree with Chronos, or it's got errors before you send it in. So if you do a direct upload, they should agree. So what the employee signs off on is what they get signed on. So if you have a wage and hour audit, so you got to think about this, you have a wage and hour audit on an hour employee. We have the rules set up that are all wage and hour compliant. The employee signing off, their supervisor signing off, the final sign off is the employee. So it cuts down, as long as it's set up properly, it cuts the error rate out. And especially if you have a wage and hour audit, it makes a big difference with our employees. That's where you're going to benefit in the long run when it comes to because I think we've got to have it to where all the processes work out where they can sign off timely. If they're not signing off and we just drag them in, they may be significantly off and we miss pay them employees, so we only got one or two choices. Try to fix it the next couple of days or make them wait 2 weeks. And sometimes if you overpay them, you can't get your money back. We've had that issue. We've actually went to court before, a couple of times.
When we went through the EMS, you talked about telestaff and the scheduling that uploaded, and you also referred to the sheriff's office would use the scheduling. Do they don't?
They don't use advanced, the only one that uses
They're gonna
advanced
punch in and out.
The only one that uses advanced scheduling or telestaff is EMS.
Okay, thank you.
David, I do have one other question, on the employee only, those 12 employees. Do they actually cut them a check if there's an approval on top of it?
Currently, everybody gets a check.
They're doing it through the Excel sheet, but that's something we would have to decide when we do the update. So that's something that's gonna have to be worked out, what happens when they don't approve it? Do we go ahead and pull them in?
Yeah,
Do
we have
leave them?
employees who've never approved a time card.
Nobody paid them.
I randomly pulled, when he first asked me, I don't know if it was last payroll or one before, and I can't remember the numbers right now, I didn't bring those with me. So it's very similar to this. There's employees, some employees, there's some managers who never approve anything. But we don't have anything set in place saying I'm not allowed to pay you. If that's the case, so we pay everybody. So that's put a lot on us to make sure that we look at these time cards and think it's logical. Because
So these that don't have, that only have employee only, there's a second check.
currently, yes.
Do a manual check.
But still, when you have a lot of risk that the systems don't agree, and if you have wage hour audits, then you've got issues.
Is the approval of the check, is that embedded in our policy? Where they have to approve the time card?
There should be a problem. Audit checks for that on time sheets manually, but
On some of the things that I run into for approving the ones for finance is, they may have requested all the last half of the day, but the time they needed was 4 hours, well, it shows 4.5 in the system. So if I don't change anything, they're earning a half-hour comp time. They shouldn't be, that didn't work that time. It's just the way the system's set up. So I have to go in and manipulate that and correct their time cards to show that they only needed 4 hours of time to use that day instead of 4.5. So the employees at times will approve that. And then, even though it's not correct, so I don't know what's occurring on the sheriff's side, but just because the employees approve it doesn't mean the time card's correct.
I think it needs to be done and signed off on for enough time for the main person, if their payroll to be able to review it for stuff like that. Meaning they need to review it all. And part of the reason is we've got a lot of convoluted and complex rules and stuff like that. And even ours have some, for instance, if you work 6 or 6.5 hours, you get 30 minutes. If you work 6 hours in full time, you get 30 minutes of your lunch paid. You don't get any of it paid. But if you have an employee where you say, hey, I need you to work during lunch, because occasionally you do that, you let them have lunch break time, they work 6 hours. Then we have to do what's called a bonus for the 30 minutes that we don't pay for anyway. So that's some of what they're talking about with the bonus and the image like that. That's how we look at it. It's got a lot of embedded rules, but a lot of our stuff aren't necessarily. The sheriff has a lot of rules.
One thought, and we don't have to belabor the point today, but maybe looking at embedding in our policy the requirement at least one level up to approve time cards. And if I overlook something, let me know, but I mean, it sounds like we just need to reinforce that step.
This is where I'm coming from. You may need to schedule start closer because when they pull the hard copy time sheets, they look for sign-offs and approvals. The system has a not one, so that may be something they don't really fully understand that that's not happening electronically. I'm not really sure. Audit always required that for internal controls when I used to audit systems. They required the signature of the employee and the supervisor. If they didn't have them, we'd actually give them a truck and co-pilot.
Let's take a look at it, and if you think there's a policy adjustment we need to make, then let's talk about that maybe next week.
We really, they have the personnel policies on the office, especially policy. We don't really have any policies. That's something that's actually mentioned, if you go through all the things that they need to be done. One of them, if it's in there, is actually developing policies. That is something that needs to be looked at, those right standard operating procedures. The question is, when we write our standard operating procedures, maybe something like even a policy that might be signed on. Yeah, maybe something we need to discuss further with audit, because they are auditing the manual ones for the signatures and the manual and the hard signature, but I don't believe, and they maybe sign off on that in the back. I mean, that's something we should, when we're doing the full, it should be signed off. Something we need to look at closely.
That would be my recommendation, just look and see if we can bring this policy manual or the whole process, because I just think, having employees approve only their time and cut checks, that's just an internal control problem by itself. But, again, it's not large volume, but it's something to think about.
You should answer the question we had initially. I don't know, maybe something to discuss about it.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
But, the same thing, we have multiple personnel policies for each statutory office. We have another issue in the certain statutes. So the question is, can we go? But, maybe something we discuss further with audit before it's signed off. We can talk, but I just.
Can you send us an email, give you an answer from audit?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably forward this to them and ask them how they're viewing sign off, because that's a good point. I think there's an assumption for sign off, so like in our office, we have, approval, but we have approval in our office, like the employee and, the supervisor. And the next one is, we have the implementation of the remaining offices, the same thing. I think the number one goal is we're ever gonna automate it and guarantee to the, at least a reasonable assurance that the Chronos, Units, and all of them agree and are completely waiting hour compliant is to deal with the whole activity. Because right now, the whole last week, several, like 180 employees, basically, you really can't have a good sign off when you're getting them the whole week. Like our last week, it's what we're saying. Have been Monday, maybe Friday. And then it kind of goes through those processes. And then at the end, if you look at the last pages, the two that are very far down on our list, there are two things that do eventually need to be in 2012. Like number one is capital assets. We started on that several years ago, drop back to work on other things, and we may have Jordan. And then the other one's trying to fully implement Munis into the budget module. Munis has some budgeting, but it's not what we initially want. You would probably have to buy an integrated package, so it's going to be very expensive. What I did this past year is, in our Excel, we actually take a lot of the tables from Munis and drop those into Excel, and then we get the information from it. So there's some integration, but a full integration, no, I think we'd have to buy a secondary package to what the budget committee wants. Probably a third party that's some way integrated with it. Looking at the budget package, some of the things we want, we've looked at it several times. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. So the last two items, the fixed asset module, it's sitting there empty? Is that what, the fixed asset module is just empty?
Yes, ma'am.
We have nothing in it?
We haven't started. We are on Excel right now. We started back earlier on to move to the Munis. Where we ran into problems, we ran out of time, so we stopped. What they want you to do is put in the fixed assets, and then they run them back in time to begin the fixed assets, looking for a small calculation error where we have thousands upon thousands of assets. So we spend that way. hour after hour, so we stopped the budget, we came back, tried to restart the process, stopped again, so right now, and that's kind of what some of the comments I've got from their employees, we used to have it where, you know, during budget, year end, or, tax year end, it was really busy, the other times kind of slowed down, allowing you to catch up right now with the continuous sprint. So then getting to these things that are around are very, very challenging, because we're trying to do things like just the day-to-day stuff right now, it's like the big workflow change quite a bit. And we did attempt to start that at least 3 times, I can remember.
The one that comes between the schools, we were trying to have it all together in one system. So it's trying to get our assets and their assets all together in one system.
And I think the easiest way to do it's hard, but I can see the reason. They basically drop in a point in time and then run back and begin to have it for errors. When you do that, there's a difference because we may have ran a partial month differently, and there's stuff because we've done, we don't always get disposal reported timely, so if we've got disposal reported different times, those show up, and we have thousands upon thousands of assets that create significant issues in the amount of time, and then we would have to solve each other project before everybody else.
Mr. Long, I understand the challenges, but it doesn't sound like we've been able to overcome them for quite some time. Do we need to possibly look at hiring a consultant to get these items up to date? We have the fixed asset module, we have the budget module, and we have the grant module, and they all need attention.
I think the best thing to do right now is we've got an AP position we're trying to fill and can't fill, but we've got to get over there, so we move that person over to payroll to keep in front of us. We have a analyst that one of us would get trained on, try to get tomorrow to start training some people don't have SOPs. Get those folks trained. I think we need to focus now on getting a body there to deal with the grant and projects that does accounting like back in 19, 80%, probably like 100% of our body right now. It's me and Ms. Brown spend a significant amount of time with that. Will allow us to focus more on training and things like this Chronos project. Right now, she was working on fixed assets and some of these projects and those type of things, it's like looking at employees and reconciling projects. Because we may have a person that's doing the projects, but they're not doing anything or keeping up with them, for instance, like the courthouse. Here's a giant Excel sheet I spent days on creating and had you update. It's got bond funding, city funding, county funding. So I had to create this small, and I think that's the content alone, brought out spreadsheets, and before that, nobody was really, since the beginning, of the kept up with that thing. We've had a consultant, they used the numbers, the project person, so from the beginning, it's been made, and more recently, I've had things updated, it's probably not been updated. We've got a new system for we have nonprofits. We've been keeping, when we started putting in some of these projects, we started putting the nonprofits in the project, and it's become so busy that when I looked at the other day, some of them are up to 18, some are 19, some are 2021, and that's a profit. We've taken the people that are working on that, moving them to things like budget and some of the fixed assets, and that's what all those turnover and other issues. And I know that's part of the monitoring of the workforce, the other stuff before we get down to all this in place. We have very little turnover and change that all this place. People want for more money in better locations.
How much resources do we need to get all of these caught up?
The thing is, what you're going, we've got SOPs. When I came to get, we got standard operating procedures, we got a few that need to be done like payroll. But even when you've got standard operating procedures, you need some and training and somebody can't drop them. Right now, we're taking staff, and we desperately need this training employees.
How about by next month, you come back and tell us how much resources we need to get these all caught up?
Call it up.
Or up to date. I mean, our grant module is empty. Our fixed asset module is empty. Our budget module is not working.
Because I said, if we had to do grant accounting project, we could probably take a bunch of that off Ms. Brown in between that. That person would do a lot of that work, which will allow Ms. Brown to go back with their got a break enough resources to stop and go.
Well,
We start, stop, and go.
she's also only been here 1 week.
Yep.
Don't run around.
Think about it a couple different ways. One, I know you've got a mid-budget cycle, so I get that. And you don't want to give an answer now, but be thinking about a couple different lanes. One is, do you have any existing positions that are open that you could reclass into the grants? Yeah. No, okay. The other is maybe a 6-month employee, and we reevaluate budget needs at next budget, or to hire an outside consultant to come in and do this work.
We tried that in 19, we couldn't find. That was actually what was offered in 19.
You couldn't find a consultant, or you couldn't find an employee?
We couldn't find a consultant, and that's when we hired Mr. Wolfley, who gave us about 80% of the account there, and kind of got switched around. What we end up right now, say, if we start these projects right now, when we're in October, we might get November, we gotta start, with about all the resources we can get, early December, preparing the budget. So like, the Browning, that to some extent, we also put in the budget, we do have all our positions right now.
When I look at this grant and project list, it's either overwhelming or completely outdated. And what I don't know is, what are we leaving on the table in terms of grants, and what's the financial value of that? I think you had mentioned we had 3.2 million or so that you could not accrue because you don't have the paperwork, documents where you need them. I just think if you got something that voluminous, we need to step back and figure out what's the most important part of that and allocate resources appropriately. I mean, when I looked at that, I'm like, okay, what does this do for me? I mean, you know, we got a lot of list of projects, but no values and times. So it, you know, it's a start, but it's certainly not where we want to end up. But I just want to know of this, what are the key things that are not getting done? And it's really no part of one person, it's just a process issue that we need to figure out.
Let's look at the first one, like right now, what's going on, it's a brown part.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking about the codicil and all the different things. If we follow the 2009 resolution, it says that all items are to be presented for a grant. What happened to that one is there was $500,000 worth of revenue during the budget cycle put in, and we never got all the documents. Never could get them within the budget. Once they're in there, they're ready to move forward. And we actually went and had a training with called the Project Ledger with Ms. Northwood, so we did it back before now. See if she could find unload it, and then we could just make sure it's there for some of her projects. But we were told that which is probably true, that she didn't really have the time on Mr. Holden. There was a position that was actually elimination, I don't think was a good idea. We probably should have migrated some of that to finance. But the same thing, a lot of things aren't getting that time when we look at. And then they're coming up later where you have to dig up stuff and find problems. And right now, if you start auditing the records, got stuff on H drive and manual, if you go through the on the ERP documents, like they have right now, if we put somebody on this, it would be straightening up these projects and start scanning documents for months. And after that, we'll be catch it on the project. It's going to take you months to do the rest of the project.
That was my question. I see the number, sub-fund number here, and the first page you got 4 numbers, and the rest of them have 5. Is there any kind of way in which these things are categorized?
Sub-funds, like, you've got a fund, and you know, a fund is got assets, liability, revenues, and expenditures, okay? Per GAAP, there's a term of GAAP says you're supposed to have the minimum number of funds for good accounting and legal requirements. So unless there's legally required, in this county, we don't create a fund, because you got other counties, you have a lot more funds than us. If they have these 4 number sub-funds, they actually have assets, liability, revenue, expenditures, just like a fund, they balance all the way through. So for instance, the sheriff's GPS tracking would have everything that a full-blown fund would have, registered deeds, the ones with ARPA have that. It's like 37, ARPA sub-fund, it's 37 point, about 8 million for SWIG and about 100,000 for where they're all over the place based on the size.
Yeah. Well, what my question is, I see just, a whole lot of different things, as far as categories, and I was wanting to find out if there's some kind of method here. That's what I'm trying to.
There is, I had to pull it out, it's based on like, based on really which department initiated, or what kind of.
You got opioid, then you got the William and Mary Brown Park, Sheriff's Department. I mean, it just seemed like something with they were when the fund came along, they added a number. That's what I'm trying to.
If they're assigned pretty much in their order, whenever.
Yeah. Whatever you find out.
Whatever, it's the
Okay,
next number.
that's what I'm trying to.
For the most part, now, there are some, like our capital project fund, we started them with 5-7. So if it,
Okay.
you'll see.
That's what I'm wrong.
Yes, there are a few, you'll notice as you get down, there are some significant there. But the project, we have an 8-segment count number. The sub-fund is the second segment. The project is an 8 segment. Not all accounts currently have a project code. The ones that aren't going to be, short-term or something, typically assign a project code instead of the sub-fund.
Some of these units, right, some of these are complete, right?
Yes, and that's the ones that David went through and marked out.
Projects only have revenue expenditures for revenue expenditures. They're just if you want to track something or group of something. The sub-funds require a lot more work, so they require people on the bounty. If you look, we know that the opioid is supposed to be for 18 years, so you have a 504, 748, one right after down. That's for your opioid because one is restricted and one's unrestricted. You have one up here for your hospital earnings, everybody asks for. You have a resolution at one time, the 25% could be spent and 35% earnings couldn't, so you have a 502, 9 and a 503 for the 25%. If you go down through there, there's a lot of these, legally restricted, some of them are assigned, but they basically, if they require, asset and liability revenue expenditures like 5043, Tennessee Sports Gaming, that is money that you guys receive that has to ultimately be used for infrastructure into the general fund, and we restrict it back by law. So it has a revenue and a fund balance and everything else.
Well, I'm looking at one thing right here. You got William and Martha Brown Park, 5039. Flip over here. Is this a different Brown Park? Same one, 5,000. Okay.
If it's, the thing is, like, if you have a certified, you have to actually have liability balance. A good example would be the courthouse. It is in multiple sub-funds because it has money that comes from a bond, money that comes from the city. So the city money comes from 570, 200 capital. The bond was, I believe, it's 571, and then it also has money for 5701. But if you put them all together, we actually have one project on the end where we can group all that back together. So if you want to find it, by our chart of accounts we create, you can do multiple things. You can come in and find out the fund, sub-fund the project. We can even go, because that particular project has the courthouse in it, it has the garage, and it has a jail barn. So it actually has a location for those. So if you want to find everything that's spent on that courthouse, you put the 50, I think 50, and then you would put the location for that particular courthouse and for all the things.
Well, yeah, you're kind of in the weeds. I'm kind of looking at this kind of broad scale. Can you just take between meetings, and thank you for I know this was a long word. Thank you for that. But can you take and just clean this list up? And what I'm looking would be those that are complete and those that are still open that you're tracking or supposed to track. And assign the value of what that really is, $100. We could start there, and then we could work, maybe the next thing we can take and prioritize what these look like in terms of where you build, allocate resources to get it up to date. But this is a ton of work for somebody, and it was a ton of work to get this, I know. But it's just, we're just starting. This is a involved process, and I do think we need to clean it up a little bit, put some timelines and dollars on these lists, look at it next month.
Dropping this blue cover system is not a ton of work.
Yeah.
What you're asking for is.
Nobody called my
Well, maybe, I mean, yeah, let's just make progress, okay? I know this is a big deal, and we need to talk about, you're gonna come back hopefully with a recommendation on, even though you know, it may not be fully available now, I think we still need to understand the resources you're gonna need to try to address this. But I think we need to chew down the wall at the same time. We need to be looking at this list while you're looking at resources to allocate to address it. And I know it's not, so I know, but I do know there's a lot of money here, and we just need better transparency on this whole process.
You kind of, like on the back page, if you look, a lot of those are nonprofit.
Yeah.
So anything that's got a project where we want to attach documents, we don't need it like a receivable, payable, encumbrance, you want additional documents, you gotta have a project.
Yeah.
So on the nonprofits, we put their tax filings, their requests, their budgets, everything. The problem being is that's something we add to the office without really resources over time, so we really try to do, and right now, because things after things, it's not getting done.
So I'm happy to make myself available to work with you offline to give you my thoughts, but I know we dominated the meeting with this, and we can move on, but those are my list of questions about this.
Just one quick question, if you know where it is, that TDEC grant for the Brown Park, where is that?
It would be in that project.
Which one? I found three of them now. There's another one right there, 5205, 005. Which one you looking at right there? Second page. On third page.
And if I can just bring us back in, there are a lot of details and we question, we are really deep. Can we do these offline? And Commissioner Brown, you go by accounting and let them show you what's in there. If that would be okay.
We have the means.
Because I think you're going to want to see that anyway. But I do have a higher level question. My understanding of the system, this is in the project file and not, help me clarify, we have a module for projects and we have a module for grants. Is this true or are they the same?
There's a module for each, yeah. There's a project and the grant. We don't use the grant one right now. We're probably going to use the project one because it's more detailed.
And that's
the
the
grant one you
question.
can actually add as a whole new segment in the account we don't think we need.
And that's the question I want for this financial management committee, is that we have a grant module that the county purchased. If I'm correct?
When we trained with Tyler, when Kim and I had done the training with Tyler several years ago, they explained the grant module to us. That's not going to work.
That's what I want to bring out, because I think that's what we've talked about before.
Plan uses the project one.
So for this committee, I want everyone to understand, we need to be talking about which systems we're going to be using. They're recommending that we do not use the grant module, that we use the project. So with using, am I correct? Mm-hmm. So I want that to be clear for y'all, because that's what we're talking about, is the system implementation and where we're going with that. So we're using the project module to track these things. So it's a good place to store documents, but it might not be as dynamic as we want it, because it's a project module. Which Tyler version are you on? Is it possible that future ones may have better modules?
They do annual updates.
We can talk about that offline. Maybe they have something better. That it's been a while.
The charter account's pretty robust.
If we go that way.
Our
Okay.
charter account's wrong, that's a complaint we have to the department. So we
Okay.
track everything.
So we can dig into it more, but I just want y'all to understand that we're not using the grant module because it wasn't working.
For what we needed, it was way too much
Input, resource intensive.
You're gonna,
I mean, it was a whole nother set of books.
yeah, you're gonna have to hire a couple of people to run it.
I don't wanna do that, we need somebody for all this other stuff.
I think that project master will work. We just need somebody to do it.
Yeah, and I'm good with that, I just wanna be clear with everybody what we're talking about.
Project master is the word.
Well, and what I said a while ago about having the account segment, and not all accounts have a project code yet. That's my goal, is because over the years, I've realized that we're lacking in some of our reporting capabilities.
That's
and
where
how
I was
we run
wanting to go.
things, because all accounts don't have that ACE segment. That needs to be, and that's another project
Yeah,
that
I've
we
seen that
need to
before.
work on, that needs to be added to every account that we have, and we have probably 4,000 or 5,000 accounts.
To be honest with you, it's a resource issue. There's tons of things we could do. We just hate to ask for additional resources. Really, there needs to be a full-time person on it all the time. That's what the issue is. Because we've got a chart of accounts, worked on it, we set it up. For instance, if you have IT, we can, if you trace the invoice, we can trace IT, what department they go to, what the other people. And if you want to buy a, inventory module, we can tell you what we're in. But we can go all the way down the road, you've got a very robust chart of accounts, these things, anything you want. The problem being is everything that you want requires input. Requires a bigger chart of accounts, requires all that data to be input, and requires those pictures to be input. Not a system issue, it's a resource issue.
I agree, there's a resource issue, so maybe when we come back in the future meetings, how much resources you need. I think, you need several pieces of resources.
Anybody else have any questions about my grant?
Well, I mean, I think you're right, we do need resources, and whether it's one or two people, I don't think we know that until we know what the value of this is in terms of dollars and kind of what the status of it is. So, I'm not prepared to say you need two people, I'm just saying we need some help to get it current, and then look at next budget cycle, and can we budget a new person in there? But between now and 6 months, do you try to hire somebody part-time to do it, full-time? I don't know, but let's just think outside the box and see if we can figure something out.
I think right now there's no rush to anybody, we have at least 2 staff members that are, things we get trained, we don't have to take our time to train staff. And right now, our biggest thing is we need to slow down some of our turnover. Right now, we're trying to recruit, but we don't have an issue even with the increased last year.
So you wouldn't want to hire somebody because you don't have time to train them? Is that part of it?
We would like, we need at least probably a month or two to train one analyst right now. That's kind of be a level analyst, and there's no reason to go back and say we have to work on other stuff, but not the same department. Tomorrow's probably the first day I'll get trained. You won't really get to it all until next week, probably. What we're running into right now. And we're also in the middle of the audit process. We're really getting the audit done. The best time for us to look at things when the audit's done.
Well, I mean, I would propose we just move on, but I think understanding resource needs, it's still a high look at this from just a risk perspective with, give us your thoughts on it. And if you are able to, get the chart of accounts pretty easy, I'm assuming there are dollar amounts associated with these chart of accounts, right? Not, it's just accounts, no dollars, no anything.
If you want to pull, if you got a 5020 in there, it'll have every one of your accounts. If you got a 5020 and hit expense on it, it can pay, it'll show you every expense you do by year.
Okay.
But it's not going to come through here and show you all these and you kind of,
Okay. Again,
that's what we're running into. It's going to be.
I'm with you. So let's just move on then, but I can talk to you.
That's the end of my report, unless anybody's got any additional questions.
Thank you. We move into old business. Item A is the requested minutes for the elected officials association. Any updates? No update. Item B is grant accounting discussion. Kind of,
Well, I think it was about the movement of the grant position, and I'll repeat exactly what I said at budget. I can do anything that you guys need me to, but if we're talking about projects, there's two things that's gonna have to happen. If we're gonna do a project, somebody's gotta come up with the concept that's legally authorized, whether it's the mayor, gen ops, or whoever. And then when we've completed the project, gen ops, the mayor, or whoever's legally authorized, is gonna have to sign off that they accept the building or whatever before we make final payment. The mid processes aren't an issue, but those two processes are two that I really feel are outside the realm of finance or something. You would want somebody determining and running your projects, if that makes sense, control the issues and deliver issues. But that's pretty much the same thing I said at budget.
so if I could just clarify for tonight, because we're gonna roll into commission. When we move the grant accountant resource out of finance and into county building, if I was to propose that we create another position for the next 6 months till we get to budget from the fund balance, could you train them, or you wouldn't have time to train them?
As soon as we get these called, it's gonna take time to advertise and get the position. By the time we're there, I can start training at that point.
So if I ask tonight,
If you ask for a half a year, that would be starting in January, we can handle that. But is that today with audit up there and I've already allocated resources for the next, we come in and we allocate resources for all of it. At this point, it's gonna be hard looking at the next month priorities where I've allocated everybody to really train everybody else on the job.
so you're
In
okay with
January,
that?
we could deal with it, because I can start allocating resources now based on what I know is coming up.
Do you feel like we have adequate fund balance to take care of that?
To take care of 6 months from 4 years, but it would be something I'd recommend you handle next year. It would not have an impact. 6 months from one employee is not gonna have a significant impact on the fund balance. You're just talking one.
Thank you. So item B, the grant accountant discussion, I think we've, went through that. Does anyone else have any questions on it? C, payroll items.
And this is just what we were discussing,
Yeah.
we are going into the Chrono system will help. This year, we ran into significant issues with the pools and leave audits, but the Chrono system is basically, I believe they're gonna handle all the issues, and that's just something I think we discussed it last month. It's really nothing I believe that's the same thing.
Okay, so item 2, the salary survey. Everything it seems like I'm telling you is postponement. I'd like to postpone the salary survey discussion because tonight, the commission will be addressing significant salary increases. I don't think that now's the time to do a salary survey when we are still handing out salary increases. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Roll it?
Yeah, I think. Wait.
We don't really have the available resources to help with it right now, but just to speak for the salary survey, I think it's a very useful thing for the county to show what the market's at. And we could send the data to the, same data was in the last time, to the, salary survey person who's ready to quote in the budget, but I don't know how much engagement they're gonna need from us if they don't issue for the next month.
Can we postpone it? Would you feel like you could get to it? When do you think you could get to it?
If you authorize me, what I will do is go ahead and reach out to the consultant and find out about the contract, they gave us a quote, and start sending them data with the, goal to be able to get it early enough, or at least to touch base with them where they can start working with, so we get some stuff back early enough for the budget cycle. Which we will start in January, and really you need to have it done in March, so it'll have to be relatively quick. So we probably try to touch base with them a little bit after January, because we gotta do W-2s and 941s in January. We haven't done, your current staff haven't done anything with the new W-2 system like I did last year. I basically last year.
Can we take up Jolly survey in November?
Yeah, I think it's something.
Move on to new business. Item A, Chronos. Number one, report from, so Sheriff Craddock asked that we move his discussion item to next month, I believe.
As I said, we kind of went over tonight, but they are making progress, but we're not when you're correct there, but.
So item B is the AED purchase requirement. So do you want to go over those, Mr. Long, or
I could go over them and kind of tell you my thought process, which would be the easiest way to handle it.
did you speak with EMS?
I think I had Justin spoke with EMS and he conveyed what they told him, so I have the information. They do register with EMS. They do, you do register with EMS, so my only concern is I think we, at some point, would be putting that into your purchasing policy that if you, as a county purchase AED, that you do register with EMS as required, and you do ensure that the training cabinet is required, and you do ensure that the testing is required. Whoever purchasing is required to guarantee that happens.
And that's what I was referring to earlier. When you say, can I just get clarification? When you say that they registered with EMS, does every entity in the county with an AED register with EMS?
This statute says,
It read like they do.
that's my understanding when talking to Dustin, is my understanding they're supposed to. Do they? I can't guarantee that.
You need a private entity?
It says.
It says, yes. Like Walmart,
A
should they
person
register?
or entity that acquires an automated external defibrillator shall ensure that. And it goes down to there, any person or entity that acquires an AED shall, within a reasonable time, after placement of an AED, register the existence and location of the defibrillator with the Emergency Communications District or the Ambulance Dispatch Center of the primary provider of emergency medical services where the AED is located. And according to Justin, when he talked to them, it's our understanding that everybody is doing that. Now, is everybody doing it? EMS can't guarantee that. They would only know what people tell them.
What about if you're just a person, you know, in your home?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. I would recommend.
Well, it says a person or entity that acquires.
It sounds like you're supposed to, but I would recommend, I'm not an attorney, that you consult an attorney before you place one in your home.
So this is just an example of one of the items that needs to be added to the purchasing policy. Something that wasn't around in 2012.
This was brought to my attention and asked me to do it, so maybe somebody to add to the purchasing policy. So I inquired if it was happening.
Item C, purchasing issues.
Purchase order came from report on page 54. We really don't have any new ones, for the last month. Because you guys approved EMA. The one was from the mayor's office, was information only, and was noted here in case all it was good as a sample, but it wasn't required for one. And it was just, dated afterwards. So I don't consider the exception, so this one is, but here in case all it was. And then while we did this on the issue. We really don't have any new ones that required to go to that issue last month.
And with this fiscal report, we're just going to continue on through the year adding to this. Well, hopefully there won't be any more exceptions, right?
If that's what we do each year, we do all year.
Excellent. Item 2, Hendersonville Library purchase.
That was when we were contacted with the library, and they asked us what they should do, ask for more funds, or try to find it, or go through their nonprofit. They met with finance, I believe, Friday, and what they presented to me so far is we're gonna try to find their funds.
She's already done that, and Craigslist thing already.
So they kind of answered their own questions, so I think we're ready to move forward this time, and let's probably talk about it.
So with that item, it's similar to the other libraries, they all did the upload.
I believe they went with different systems, why they didn't have the issues. If she went with a different system, I believe probably what happened without speaking when they did the library. But at this point, they've already sent a request for transfers, and they're gonna try to make it through the year, so. The only reason it ended up on the agenda was they asked the questions today. Asked for the money, asked for nonprofit, so that I think that was the original reason they did kind of answer their questions. And they kind of answered it Friday, so we, honestly, think they decided to try to find it in the thing.
All right, so we'll move on to item 3. Fiscal year 24, double payment of electric services for Hendersonville Clerk's Office.
Yes, this is the weirdest one. Their office is looking, and there was a double payment made. Ms. Ramona has contacted the utility district. She says multiple times, they did not give us credit for it, and they did not answer their questions, what they told us. We're just going to put you guys on a load, and I guess also legally, they may need to talk to the district. We're not 100% sure why they're not giving us credit for it or refund, but, we're just making you guys aware of it. She was having issues actually getting a credit for it, we don't know why.
So one item that I'd like to bring up for this committee, and it kind of goes into your area, Mayor, is I've found it odd that our electric bills are not centralized. So I don't know if the committee is aware of that, but we sent, the mayor's office handles, what did your office, you handle all the utilities into your office, and then you send them out. I know, like, you send them out, we had the one where the sheriff's office didn't get their bill. So it seems to me like AP would be centralized, and that, I don't know, that maybe you want to handle your electric bills, or, I'm just looking that I would have expected AP to handle all the electric bills. I don't know.
The bills went out.
So this one,
We typically pay all the bills.
I don't know why it's supposed to be your office, unless you just want it to be.
Well, because we run the budget, county building budget, I have care and custody and operation control of buildings. That's why.
I'm your office. But it seems like for a centralized process, it would go to accounts payable, and they would just pay it. I just don't want you to have to, unless you want it. I'm just asking.
Like when I asked David, he just spent half an hour saying he's having a hard time keeping up.
I know, I told him if he would do it, he wouldn't have to.
If I could interject, Chairman, I'm just outside looking in on this, but I'm not gonna know there's problems, I'm not gonna know there's leaks, I'm not gonna know there's other problems unless I see those bills fluctuating and things of that nature. And the one who's closest to the situation, I would think, would be the mayor, unless he feels more comfortable having it the other way, but he does have care and custody, so it's gonna be hard for finance to catch a problem he might see much quicker.
I can speak on utilities. We don't do them here, it would take time, and we would have to have that. When I was at Green, we did the utility bills, you finance it, they authorized us to pay, we had an employee that did those. Those employees, pretty much full did for that, and they did work for finance. So right now, the mayor's office pays the majority, sheriff pays theirs, and they pay the library pays theirs. But the mayor pays both of those, and, who does health insurance, margin, and highway pays it.
A
But
centralized
they are
plan.
kind of moved apart, the thing is, those are multiple partial employees. Like, if you answer Eric's question, what you do is you look for variances from the prior year and return it for usage. So you look for usage variance, it does take more time, but I dare say most employees that does it to the side don't look for usage variances. But I think it's gonna save enough money, pay for employees. And the thing is that it's partial employees everywhere, unless they're going to eliminate one, it's going to be the same issue. But yeah, the best way to do it is just centralize the question. And how you deal with that is using various different processes.
So, and I'm bringing it up because that's what the Financial Management Act is about, is centralizing. And that's the only reason I was bringing it up. And that's the reason I was asking Mayor how he would like it. But ideally, best practices would be a centralized approach through AP. Something to consider, but we're short on resources at the moment. Do you need an approval on this double payment?
No, we're just making you guys aware of what we're filling out for, and they eventually, just making you aware, if it comes up to the issue,
If they yank my chain, I'll get involved too, but I was unaware of this.
well, we're still trying to deal with it, I mean, I think Ramon's dealing with it, we don't know where she's at. Okay, let's discuss it back over. Okay, we'll send it over to Leanne for some months.
So the last item we have is bidding of reinsurance. It's kind of a lengthy discussion. There's no time constraints on this item, so I'd like to just move it to next month, so we can clear this room for the next meeting. That would be okay with the board. Excellent. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Have a nice evening. Thank you for showing up.